This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Charlyn Spiering has been along the adoption and foster parenting path many times, with a variety of organizations and in several capacities. Since beginning her journey, she has learned a lot from her own mistakes and the experiences of adoptees and first mothers that have allowed her insight into their lives. Together, we can look at the realities of what adoption and foster care is like today and see where you might fit in. As a coach, Charlyn walks alongside you and helps you understand the process and the responsibility we have as adoptive and foster parents to the children and first families we interact with. Valeria interviews Charlyn Spiering. She is an adoptive parent, a former foster parent, and a former foster care volunteer. In the last couple of years, Charlyn has been actively podcasting and writing about many topics from all sides of adoption and foster care. She has talked to adoptive parents and foster parents, but also adoptees, birth mothers, and others. Charlyn doesn't just interview people about their personal stories, but she also gets their ideas to improve adoption and foster care. One goal of the strategy is to encourage creative conversations about how to make these institutions better for everyone involved. This has truly broadened her understanding of how the systems we have in place and the support we lack affect people within the community and beyond. Charlyn can only do so much to change the structure we have, but she feels she is in a unique position to work with individuals who have been touched by foster care or adoption, helping them build confidence and reach their goals. Most recently, Charlyn has become a professional life coach, offering services to people touched by adoption or foster care. She thinks it is important when helping people within adoption and foster care move toward their desires that the person they work with understands common issues they may face and can compassionately help them find a way through. Meet Charlyn Spiering at adoptgrowthcoaching.com and adoptionuncovered.com. Here's the interview with Charlyn Spiering.
Hello, everyone. This is another Quest for Wellbeing podcast interview. And my guest today is Charlyn Spiering. She is a life coach, adoptive parent, former foster parent, and a former foster care volunteer. And she's also a podcaster. Her podcast is titled Adoption Uncovered. So this is my brief introduction just for now, but I have lots of questions for you around the topic of adoption. But how would you introduce yourself, Charlyn? Who are you in your own words in this very moment?
Yeah, that's a great question because right now I feel like I'm in a big part of transition in my life because for many years I was a parent, an adopted parent, someone who supported a lot of other people in my life. And now I am, those responsibilities are transitioning and they're changing. And I have spent a few years really trying to find out who am I and how do I want to serve others? Because that's definitely central to who I am, is how can I serve others? And I have chosen to start with podcast coaching in this adoption foster care space.
Yes, it's beautiful though. I hear that all the time. I've been doing this for a long time, even prior to that, 5 years ago. Why do we have this longing, this desire to help others? And it feels like a purpose, like a calling, like a mission. Why do you think that is?
I think obviously it varies for a lot of different people. Right. I know just who I am as a person, how I'm built. It has always been a part of who I am from when I was in high school. I volunteered. I have had a lot of jobs that have been related to either bringing up issues that need to be solved or just helping others. I have worked at a rescue mission. I've been a small town reporter. And so all of those types of things are sort of part of who I am as a person. But as far as I'm concerned.
I love that that part of, it's part of who I am. It's who I am. I have, I think I have answered that way too. So many, from the mind, I have intellectualized that idea, but I think it's beyond an idea though. I always smuggle some of my spiritual findings here. It feels to me like it's because that there's no other, really. It seems like whatever is here, it's there, it's everywhere. In the sense of that essence, that ground of existence, we all know one thing for sure, that we exist. It might be coming from that. I know I have this very, it's almost like it has become now more than a belief system. It's beyond that. It's like a knowing, realization. But anyway, do you have any spiritual views, understandings of yourself in life?
So I think that's sort of a complicated question because I really have respect for a lot of people who have a very specific way of following religion. And I grew up that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's like very helpful to people. I think my the sort of religion and spiritual views that I have become more vague and questioning over the years. And I'm definitely open to a lot of different ways of viewing things. And so I feel like for me, spiritual practice is something that sort of is organic and something, it's sort of like connectedness to nature, but it encompasses a lot of different things.
Yes. And it's certainly very personal, right? We all have different ideas, and a lot of times just it stays as an idea and then as a concept, and we don't really kind of explore further. But I see in a very clear way what you are doing, and so many people that I meet here, that it's almost like unconsciously you're doing spiritual work by trying to help others. That it sounds so spiritual to me, I have to say. Naturally, as you said, organically.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of connection. There's a lot of spiritual communities that I work alongside, that I work with, and there's a lot of spiritual communities that are doing a lot of good in the area of adoption and foster care. And so there can be like a spiritual connection that it is different for everyone, I think.
Right. So let me go back to the topic of today's conversation. Let me see what I title. Yes. If you're okay with that, Charlene, I titled this episode, The World of Adoption, the Challenges, the Joy, and the Lessons. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
So let's begin. The question, another one of my questions about the topic is your experience as an adoptive parent, former foster parent, and former foster care volunteer. Talk to me about that. I would love to hear a little bit of the backstory. Why did you become an adoptive parent? How did that go? The process of it, the lessons, the overall kind of picture of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So adoption and foster care is something that has been on my mind for a very long time. It's something that really crossed my mind before I even met my husband, before I knew what kind of family I was going to have. It was something that I wanted to do. So it's not, I think a lot of people come to adoption in the sense that maybe they're facing infertility, or maybe there's something that is getting in their way of forming their family the way they initially chose to. And that was not the case for me. I always knew that this was something I wanted to open my life and open my home to.
Yeah.
So when I did find a guy who he had also intended to adopt before he knew me. So we were both on that same track, and we had 2 kids initially, biologically.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, let's start our adoption journey. And so our first adoption was a boy we adopted from India. He was a waiting child. So we were able to I was able to go to India and bring him home fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And then we had a lot of different experiences after that. We had we went through a country, a couple different international adoptions that did not go so smoothly. I started volunteering with foster care, and then we became foster parents.
Yeah.
And over time, we did adopt again, and I gave birth again. So I have 5 kids.
Wow.
2 of which are adopted.
Yeah.
But over that time, so my son is 21 now, that we initially adopted from India. And I have seen so many things. I've seen a lot of things that are not great about the system. I have talked to a lot of people, and that was one thing I really liked about being a guardian ad litem, which is the volunteer with foster care.
Yeah.
I went into people's homes where their children had been removed, and I was able to see what their lives were like, ask them real questions, find out the different faces of what's going on in foster care and adoption. And it really opened my eyes to what these birth families are going through.
Yeah.
And I've been involved in a few different cases, and then I've interacted with social workers. I've seen the stresses they're under. I've talked to other adoptive parents and foster parents. And then over the course of everything we've been through, I've seen so many things that should be done better, that so many things that are not super intuitive even. And then talking to all these people, I've seen perspectives that I never would have understood. I totally started out as the adoptive parent who just wanted to help. And I have learned that it's way more complicated than you can just go in and adopt a kid and everything's great.
Right.
There's a lot of things that you need to learn and understand, and you need to learn and understand about the trauma that adoptees face.
Right.
And so that's why when it came to when I was really my kids are getting older, how do I want to help and reach out in the world? I really wanted to help everyone understand that there is more to the story than just what you're going to hear from adoptive parents. There's a lot of other voices, and there's a lot of things, a lot of people that have creative ideas and are doing really great things out there that need to be done. And how can we have creative conversations and help everyone get involved in making better? So
yes, what's not to love about that? Creative, healing, meaningful conversations, right, around challenges, right? Gosh, where do I begin? Let's begin there. So the challenges, what are the main and the most common challenges that adoptees face? I guess one that I really wanted to talk to you about is identity, but I'll leave it open to you where to begin with that.
So adoptees, which, people aren't familiar, those are the people that have been adopted, the children who are now growing up and really finding their voice. I feel like it wasn't that long ago that adoption was something that was very secretive, and adoption was something where everyone needed to be quiet about it and not talk about it. And these adoptees are growing up and becoming adults, and they are telling us things like, no, we need to talk about it.
Yes.
Even if they were adopted when they were babies, there can be trauma because they have left one family and joined another.
Right.
And that can lead to a lot of issues that adoptive parents need to understand.
Right.
So I think that's a big piece. Is it's just not so simple as a child needs a home, you provide them a home, all right, everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's not. It's can be much more complicated than that.
Yes, gosh. How so what are where do I begin to ask that question even? I'm kind of trying to get into the most challenging kind of situations or the most challenging phase of an adoption. I know when they're babies, then it's they are not aware, of course, that they're being adopted, so it's okay. When do they realize, kids, that they realize that that they are adopted? Is that something that it only happens when the adoptive parents tell them? And when do they do that? When did you do that with your kids? When did you tell them that they were adopted? Is there an age, a specific age that needs to be done?
So that can vary a lot when kids realize it. There's interracial adoption, right? Which my oldest adopted kid is like that. He is from India. Yeah. He does not look like me. Right. So there's no hiding that.
Yes.
Right. So adoption needs to be part of the conversation from the beginning. And this is something I'm working on putting a course together about that I hope I can get it out in the next couple months about how to talk to your kids about adoption, because it's something where adoption should be part of the conversation in your family from as early as it can be. There's a lot of great books that you can read to small kids. Yes. There's conversations you can have with elementary age kids and teens, and they're all going to be different. Yeah. And the amount of information you're going to tell them can be different and can be done in different ways. Right. But studies have been done, and adoptees have told us that they need to have a safe place where they can go and say what they're feeling about adoption, because sometimes it's not going to be pretty. Right. Like sometimes adoptees are going to say, I really miss my first mom, my birth mom. And that can hurt adoptive parents sometimes. Yes. And it cannot be easy. Right. Or if they're going through a rebellious phase or whatever, and they feel that they want to know more or be more attached to a birth mom or whatever, that can be hard, but that needs to be something that they are able to say and that a family is able to work through. So this conversation about adoption can look very differently in all different homes, because for some adopted children, they're like feel really connected to their adoptive family. They're at peace. And then some have really serious behaviors. And then there's children who have experienced severe trauma, like children who have been in their birth family and experienced abuse and neglect, can have things like reactive attachment disorder or other disorders where they almost require 24/7 care, or they can become dangerous. It is a huge spectrum. Yes.
Gosh, and that's I guess this might be a good time to talk about identity, right? I see you wrote here something interesting you say about identity. You say, where is my section about identity? I'm trying to find this here. There's a lot of misunderstandings about where is it? Yeah. So confused identity, you say, or lack of understanding of who they truly are and what their goals should be based on their desires. Oh, I'll leave this last part out. So confusion. So my question is, I would love to hear more about your own experience with your child, if that's okay, of course, for you to share that. How did you come to communicate? The communication, especially in the very beginning. How did you do that? That might help a lot of people to, or some people who really need to hear this, how to navigate that realm. And then also the other question that I can't help but ask you is, why do they, pretty much all of them I have heard, want to search for their first family? I have, that's something that I came across while I was reading. I actually had another guest about a year ago, that he adopted two. I think he adopted, one or two, I'm not sure. He has like a whole book about it. And it usually becomes a book too, right? People write about these things. So talk to me about that, the identity part, and also the reason why they search for the first family.
Yeah, identity is a big piece for children who have been adopted, because especially if it's interracially, but even if they look like their adoptive family, they probably have a different ethnic background. They have different personalities. They have pieces of them. Like maybe they find something funny that their family doesn't get. Like just little things like that. Little things where if you think about a biological family, they're like, oh, they all laugh at the same joke or whatever. Even little things like that can be different. And for some adopted kids, they can roll with it. And for some, it makes them feel alone, especially if they can't go to the parents and say, look, I feel different. I don't think that's funny, or whatever. Not all adoptive families and adoptive families are families. The families are a whole spectrum. There are good ones, medium ones, bad ones. And, and I can't say our family is like an excellent example. We didn't do everything right either, because family is complicated.
Yes.
And some people have been adopted into families that have their own issues.
Right.
So as far as identity, and especially if you're adopting a person of a different race, that can be even more complicated if they don't look like you.
Right.
And that can be hard even if you are open to, having food from their culture or going to festivals from their culture. It can be really, really tough. And that sometimes you need to include professional help, different things like that. Everybody's going to be different.
Yeah.
But you can't pretend that once you're adopted, no matter what race you are, everything's going to be fine. It may not. It may be that you're going to have to be open to hearing things from your adopted kid that make you uncomfortable or whatever. But it needs to be something where if kids are adopted from another ethnic background or whatever, they need to be able to have a platform to say stuff, whether you want to hear it or not, and then you can work through it. And then you can, but they need to be able to be honest. And that's something that adoptees have said very often, that it's really tough. They don't feel like they fit in their adoptive family's culture. They don't feel like they fit in their ethnic culture. Like if they were adopted from Korea, say, and they're adopted by a white family, the white family is not going to speak the same language, but then, or eat the same food. But then if they go to Korea, they may not fit in entirely there either.
Right.
And so they're in this really strange middle ground.
Right.
And adoptees are starting to get together and support each other, which is great.
Yeah.
And we're all starting to learn more about how we can support adoptees like that, which is also great.
Yeah.
But it's something that's complicated and it's not easy.
Yes. That's funny when you say that. Yeah, families are complicated. Well, I think minds are complicated. People are complicated. Yeah, we complicate everything for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, from my spiritual perspective, it's very simple, but of course, it's not easy to really bring it down to the body and the mind. It's still something that I work with too, trying to uncomplicate life. But for children, I can imagine, and adopted children, that must be so challenging for them. I'm just imagining. Do they actually have therapists that are psychologists that are specialized in adopted children? Do you know of that area?
Well, there are definitely more than there used to be. And there are actually adopted people who have become psychologists. So there are some people who are very experienced. Not a lot, but there's getting to be more than there used to be, because we are starting to have more open conversation about that we need to address more of these issues and not just let adoptees fend for themselves, but they do need specific support.
Yes. Yeah. It feels to me that this is very sensitive, right, ground. Talk to me about the adoption memoirs. I never heard about them. So memoirs, we know what that is, but specific adoption memoirs, is that something that you encourage adoptees or foster parents, adoptive parents to engage with their adopted children?
Yeah, and so this is something I wrote about recently on my blog too, is that I know when I was bringing up my kids and I hit a tough spot, I want to go and find out the best ways to handle this or whatever, and find out if science has studied this, if there's been research studies that tell me the best way to address my kids. And there's not always a lot of information out there about adoptees, about how to deal with specific behaviors. And so I feel like there have been, whereas in the past, the adoption memoir space has been heavily influenced by adoptive parents telling their stories of their, happy reunions with their children and things like that. Over time, adoptees and birth parents have now started writing their stories, which is really great, because while we don't have overall as many research studies as it would be nice to have, we do have individual people's experience. And if you look at a lot of different people's experience, you can see where things coincide. You can learn lessons from that. And there are a lot of great memoirs that adoptees have written, and some of them are self-published. So they're not all by a publishing house. Some people have decided, you know what, this story needs to get out there. I didn't have enough support, and I want my story to be a support to other people. And so there are lots of good memoirs from birth parents and from adoptees that are now starting to be out there and be good resources. I don't think you can take one person's experience and say, okay, this is what everyone feels, because it's just not. But there are things you can pull from each different memoir you might read.
Yes. I love this education. It's valuable for a reason, right? Because we can learn things that are almost like in front of us, very simple and obvious, but we are not able to see. So by educating ourselves, so exposing ourselves to information, knowledge, basically, then it becomes clear. I think there's something about clarity, knowledge, clarity, they go together. So what is the goal of your work as a life coaching, Charlene? Do you coach adoptive parents, foster parents, adoptees as well, birth mothers, or anyone interested in knowing more about adoption? Or you're more selective when it comes to a specific area in people?
So I'm not necessarily, I am open to coaching people who are considering adopting to find out if it's a good fit for them, to be realistic about the landscape out there. But overall, my coaching is sort of has an emphasis of trying to help people that have been touched by adoption reach the goals they have. For example, like if adoptive parents want to do more self-care or make a change in their life, or set a goal and try to reach it. I can walk alongside them, but have an understanding of what they are dealing with every day, so we can make more effective goals that they can reach realistically, even while they're having social worker visits or having their children act out. So a lot of the goals I would like to help people with are just pieces of their life, but I have the extra insight into like what is life like working in being in foster care or having adopted kids in your life, or even being an adoptee or being a birth mother. I have an understanding, not from personal experience, but from talking to a lot of other people in that position.
Yeah.
And also, I'm open to coaching young adults because I think that can be very overwhelming. And my kids have gone through that phase, but I think especially when you have children within foster care and adoption, they don't always have people to come alongside them to help them really think through what are the next steps and how can I get there? How can I build the confidence to take the next steps in my life?
Right. Yeah. That's huge. If you can trust yourself, right? That's in a way, it's almost like what we need from one another the most. Like I see that children really look up to that. When we trust ourselves, we love ourselves, we care for ourselves, then they tend to, in a way, mimic that behavior, or at least become curious, in an authentic way, the real way. So in a way, it starts with us, right, Charlene? If we wanted to make a difference in our homes, then we have to be that we are looking to see in somebody else. Yes. And a question that I have for you that came to me about foster homes. Talk to me about the system. How does it work? And I have heard about these institutions, and I have to say, I thought it was, when I heard about the whole concept, I thought it was very odd that children, they just go around different houses and then they have to return to the institution. So they keep going from house to house. What's the purpose of that? It seems like it creates more confusion, in my mind. That's what I see from the outside, but I don't know much about it. So I would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Talking about problems with the system is a big topic because there are a lot of things that are very complicated about it. I think part of it is the whole foster care system. We need a system where when children are in a situation where they are in their family, but they are facing neglect or something or abuse in some way that's dangerous, we need a way so that we can take those children and make them safe.
Right.
That's absolutely true.
Right.
Whether foster care does that all the time or not is part of the issue, because we need something. We need something to help children be safe.
Yeah.
I think, and like I said, this is a big topic and people are very opinionated about it.
Right.
Because I think there's a number of issues. One issue is that it can be difficult for social workers to tell the difference between neglect and poverty. That can be a complicated thing. I have some of the cases I've been involved in with as a guardian ad litem. Like one of the situations, there was a couple of them. I think there was addiction, and addiction can be really complicated because a parent can have 3 great months where they are working toward their parenting plan, and then they have a situation where they're brought to square one. And then they have 3 great months, and then they have another situation. And usually in our state, you get about a year to work on your parenting plan, and then they kind of want to push toward a more permanent decision for the children's sake. Right. And that can be very hard to do when the parent has had a number of great months and then some backslides. What do you do with that? Right. So, and then there's the issue of foster families where children are staying. That's not always a great situation. And if foster families get overwhelmed by the children in their care who have had so much trauma already,
right.
then they can call into the system and say, look, this child, I cannot deal with the behaviors of this child, and the child is moved.
Right.
And this can happen many times.
Right.
And so, and for the most part, in foster care, children are in homes. There are some situations where they're in a group home, but we don't have orphanage. Well, I say we don't have orphanages. I believe there might be some out there, but for the most part, they're in individual homes or group homes. That's just a couple of the issues that there are with foster care. There are so many issues, but each of those you can see is complicated. It's individual. Each family is different.
Right. Oh, wow. I can see that clearly, how it can get pretty problematic. Yes. Do they go, so foster families, they don't have the intention to adopt those children? Is that, I would love to know more about that too, because I don't know what's the purpose of them, just to host children, to have them around. What is the main intention and purpose?
There's different intentions. There are definitely foster families that their intention is to have children for a period of time. Always with foster families, the intention initially, especially over that first year, is to try to work with the birth family to get that birth family stable so that the child can go back home. So the initial intention is it should never be adoption. It should always be, let's try to figure out what the issues are in that birth family so that child can go back to their original placement. And hopefully, if there's enough supports in place, if they sort out their income and housing, hopefully that can happen. So foster families, that should be their motivation initially.
Right.
Sometimes they are those foster families are open to adoption. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes things can change, or they get a child in their house for a while, and then it becomes apparent that they're not going back to their original family, and so they choose to adopt. It can be a lot of different things, but the motivation should never be to adopt initially. But families are definitely open to it. And some, there's even what's called respite care, where families will take a child for a weekend,
right,
to give the initial foster family a break, things like that.
Oh, I see. Yes, and they are. How is that done? The process to become a foster family. I'm wondering if they go through psychological, let's say, exams. Almost like interviews. Is that something that's part of the process?
Well, and this is what I think. This is one of the issues that there is with foster care. Is you do go through training.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You go through a course. They'll do some background checks. They will do a fire inspection of your house. The social worker will visit a couple times. But a broad spectrum of people can pass those tests. There are definitely issues with people becoming foster families that may or may not really be able to perform that as well as they should.
Right. Yeah, that would be one of my main concerns. Yeah, the psychologically, emotionally, how stable are you? It's almost like more importantly than, or equally important as finance. How stable emotionally, psychologically. So yeah, that would be, I would add even spiritual into the mix. How spiritual are you? Yeah, I can see that, Charlene. My God. Yeah. And there, this is a governmental kind of type of application that's is provided by the government. This is screening, this training.
The training is typically most counties have a place where you can take the training from the county. There are also other organizations like Lutheran Family Services, places like that, where you can take the training from another organization that will be sort of a support for you in addition to the county.
Yeah.
So the foster children come through the county initially. But if you are also working with another organization, then that organization is an added layer of help to help you as you get a placement. I don't know if I explained that very well, but
yeah. So there are other institutions, not just governmental, private ones too. Oh,
yeah. The private they still work with the government.
Oh, yeah.
But
so they're connected. Yeah.
So
gosh. This is an interesting topic. I didn't think I would be so interested in because I had this thought in my mind too. I don't have children, my husband and I remember thinking that way about 10 years ago, or perhaps even before that. Oh, I would love to adapt. But I had no idea where the thought came from. So I never questioned really, and why I want to adapt. Maybe it's my desire to be a mother, and then because I was older now and had no intention to have a biological child, then that was an option. But then now it kind of became almost like silent. That voice, that thought is not really here anymore. Perhaps it was coming from a place of, again, trying to help others, help those in need, children. So I have a dog. Oh my God, I love him. So I got a dog instead. But anyway, talk to me about that perspective, Charlene. If somebody wants to hire you, if they're thinking about adopting children or a child, what's the process like? What questions would you ask? Because I would love to know, because I would like to know for myself even, what is, what's the main reason to have that desire? But talk to me about your process with your clients in this case.
Yeah, and some people mistakenly think that I am going to be able to match them to children. I'm not. I don't do that. Mostly, I think, and one of the issues you hear from adoptees a lot is that adopted parents can come to adoption with sort of the idea that an adopted child can fill a void in their life when it is not that simple.
Right.
And especially when you look at adopting a baby in this country right now, there are far fewer babies available than there are families who want to adopt them.
Yeah.
And that number is really skewed. So it is really not a climate here where you can think, okay, should I give birth or should I adopt a baby? That's not the right way to look at it.
Right.
In my view. So what I want, if someone were to come to me and be like, we're thinking about it, I would want to educate them on what type of children are genuinely available, adoptable in this country, and are you going to be able to help provide the life that these children need?
Yeah.
And the process can be complicated. Like it's typically, like even in my own experience of adopting, things almost always take longer than you think they should.
Right.
There's things go wrong. It's not super straightforward. So you have to be able to handle that. Then you have to be able to line up the care and be open to what your adopted child might need. And it may or may not be things you anticipate. It may, you might need to have professional help involved or different things like that. So the process can be different, whether you do an international adoption or you adopt through foster care, or you decide I'm just going to be a foster parent and be a parent to children that will not be staying with me long term. And so these are all things that people need to think through. And that's what I would help them do, is help them think through it, help them understand what kind of special needs might you face, and how, and would you be able to face them, and what kind of different paths you can go down.
Yes. I love the options, right? And I love coaching for that reason, because they help us to see what are the options are beyond even our imagination. It's, I see the power of that. I have done some coaching and I know how wonderful it is. So thank you, Charlene, for being there for people. Yes, one of the things that you just said that really kind of I connected with deeply is this desire to fulfill a void. So we buy houses, we adopt children, we have children, we dog, animals, pets has been my case. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It really doesn't. That void is always there, and then it will just amplify. Actually, by bringing something that you believe will fulfill that void, will actually amplify the void and complicate life even more, using your term. That has been my case with my dog, and I love him, but I see that, it became a little bit, it's a joy and he's amazing, but I clearly saw there was something that that was missing in my relationship with my husband. I was not having from him, and then I just wanted to have the dog because I couldn't have a child. Thank God. Thank God, because that would have been much worse. Yes. Do you want to add anything to that, Charlene?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely joys in parenting, right?
Yes.
And it can be very rewarding, but it's going to be a big investment, and it's definitely not about you. As much as you can receive love, and as much as you can have wonderful experiences, and you can have the challenge of trying to interact with that child and to encourage them to grow up to be a good human that you can allow to go in the world and be good to other humans. It's a lot of work, but it can absolutely be rewarding, and I think it can be intimidating too if you say, okay, I'm going to go down the path of special needs adoption, which is something that there is a need for. That can be really intimidating, but it can be something that can work in someone's life. So it was good to understand the range of things and what the experience is like.
Yes, right. I love this. It's almost like a type of clarity, but maturity of in your thinking, right? In your perspective of life, that it's not easy. There's nothing really easy. It could be simple. We could try to simplify it, but it's not. There's. Everything in life. Look at taking care of the body, making sure we are healthy emotionally too, spiritually elevated and positive. It takes work. And that's my work every day. So I cannot even imagine having a child. Maybe I would have been a good mother, but I cannot even imagine. I have so many things that that I want to create. Maybe that was not part of my my destiny. But what is the most rewarding part of being a mother and an adoptive mother? I guess that's a question that people might want to hear from you, an answer they want to hear from you.
Yeah, there have been, I think one of the things I have learned to do over the years, and I have really worked at doing, is when you have those times where my kids are together, they are playing, they are laughing, they are enjoying each other's company, and I am there with them, being fully present, like pulling in all my senses and being and taking clear note of there is harmony here. They are enjoying it. Like I think one of my biggest things I have tried to do is to, among my kids and my family and my husband too, is sort of build a community that can sort of have each other's backs and support each other. And when I see that happening, I just try to pull in all my senses and be like, okay, this is good. This is good. And just be fully there. And that has been a big challenge to try to pull that all together. But the moments when it's working is just really beautiful to me.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of parents say is that there are moments when it's beautiful. It just really is. And if you can be fully aware and be fully present during those moments, that is really something. That is really. And I mean, I admit I am built to be a mom. Like whether I do it all right or not, that is a whole other question.
Right.
But this challenge was something that there was no question that I wanted it in my life. Just how you're talking about how you're not sure you want that in your life, and that is absolutely valid. And I totally support people if you do not feel like children are the right route for you. I believe you should just that is totally a valid way to be. And I definitely don't push people to take on this if you are not fully committed, because that's kind of what it takes, being fully committed. But when it works, it's just beautiful. And I'm proud of the people I'm raising, and I really love the community that we have among my family.
Yes. So. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, sharing that. Yes. I love the way you said that. So this very strong desire to be a mother kind of carried you through the challenges. That's what we need, that commitment, that almost like this, this desire that has no question. There's no doubts. It's just 100% committed to what it wants to fulfill. And I love the way you see that too, as a community of humans supporting one another. That's truly beautiful too, and highly spiritual for my, what can I say? Everything is spiritual. I see everything. It's a beautiful spiritual dance. Thank you so much, Charlene, for your presence in this reality that we share here, and your commitment to help others to understand, to see life the way, not exactly the way you see it, but the way that can somehow be helpful, can make those challenges, let's say, more peaceful. I think that's what I see in you, that the challenge that you have had, it seems like you carry that grace of peace in you, because that's what you wanted in the first place. Wow. What a lesson. Yeah, what a powerful lesson. Are you planning to write a book?
As I get more time, as my kids grow, I may do that. I definitely want to do more. I want to finish this course I'm working on. I would love to interact with people in a coaching relationship, and I would love to write a book at some point. Whether I have toyed with the idea of writing a memoir myself, and I don't know that is something I would pursue, but there are absolutely topics that I would love to research and write about in the future. So we will see.
Oh, I would love that. Please let me know. Yeah, you have said so many things that highly wise. They're beautiful and wise. So when I think that's what we need. We need more wisdom, almost like more wisdom than knowledge, or perhaps knowledge that comes from wisdom. That's what we need, which is basically this present experience that you described. That's just beautiful. So yes, please let me know. I would love to. I would love to interview you on that later on in the future, if ever happens. Please let me know.
Oh, absolutely. I will definitely keep you posted on anything I do in the future. And it's one of those things where while I want to interact with people in the adoption foster care realm, it's something that I feel like everyone should know more about, because
Right.
it touches so many parts of society. It touches so many issues we care about.
Right. Right.
So yeah, and
Mm.
and you should be able to support the people that you know that are foster parents, adoptive parents, adoptees. It's good to understand better how to support them when you are able to interact with them.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I know you're doing that through your podcast. I want to mention here some of your services I have in front of me. So life coaching for all parents, life coaching for young adults, a 3-part group course for young adults. I think I added the word group there. And I apologize if that's not. I think because I was reading the description and I saw group. So
yeah, I am open to working with groups of young adults also, or facilitating like life coaching groups for parents as well.
Oh, that'd be amazing if you had a foster family kind of coaching, like a group kind of retreat. I don't know, something like that, that they can just come together. I mean, I'm sure some people are doing that already, because I'm not really familiar with this realm, but it's, yes. And that's exactly what you said. It's interconnected. There's nothing that's separate. So caring for oneself, it's caring for the person around you, your family members, that will extend to the community and the world at large, the country and then the world. I really feel that way. So I want to also mention that you have another beautiful project titled The Encouragement Project. Talk to me for a moment about that. We're almost at the end, but I would love to hear about this project.
That was something that I was trying to just reach out in sort of like an anonymous, random way of just kind of leaving little encouraging notes around our community in different places, and just seeing if just leaving positive thoughts for whoever might need them. But that's
beautiful. It kind of reminds me of the I think they call it random acts of kindness. There's something, it's similar, right? Something like that. Just having that beautiful intention to pass on kindness. So I also want to mention that you offer a 30-minute consultation for those who are interested. And your website is adoptgrowthcoaching.com. And then the podcast is adoptionuncovered.com. I'll have both links here clickable on the podcast notes. Thank you so much again, Charlene, for your presence, for your kindness, for caring. To me, it's beyond words, the beauty that I see in that. And I always say it because it's truth. It touches my heart every time when I see humans helping one another. That's perhaps what you see when your children are playing and you are kind of, this is it. And then you're kind of fully present. We call it devotion. That's my devotional side too, my commitment to humanity. Because I would love to see that, more humans helping one another. It seems like we all want that, but then, there's work to be done. That's how willing are we? How open are we to do the work? So we need the encouragement. So that's why I love the encouragement project. We encourage one another to support one another and to love one another. So thank you so much again. Before we say goodbye, is there anything that you left unsaid?
I appreciate you giving me the time to just talk to you about this, and the importance of more people understanding the reality of what's going on, and how we can like really support people who have been touched by foster care and adoption. So thank you.
Thank you. And Do I have a last question? No, I don't. I won't ask you anything else because I could just go on and on and on. I love philosophy. I love these things, so I can never stop talking to you. Let me just stop here. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon. We'll be in touch again. Bye for now, Charlene.
Right.
Thank you. Bye.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Charlyn Spiering and her work, please visit adoptgrowthcoaching.com and adoptionuncovered.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.